Hello again, welcome back to Asgard, and welcome back to SevTech Ages. So, since last episode, I have done a bit of building. I know this video will be coming out on Tuesday. I've been building, and as soon as this episode's over, I'm going to continue building. I've been kind of working on focusing down a bit of our SevTech build here. I did build out this area. I still have a bit of work to do, but this is kind of like a little trophy area for displaying all of our heads. I need to go I have a Dr. Orange head and a Depth School, but there's two other heads that we're going to need. That is Pete and Mr. Wilson that we still need. Plus we need a creeper head, a zombie head, and then eventually a dragon head. Or some dragon heads. I'd like to have more than one, but anyhow. I also made up a bunch of containment chalices, ritual pedestals, just for decor. Also had a couple of these demon crystallizers left over. I just set them up kind of for decor. And then I made up a bunch of planters and set those up for decor. So, and then I added another painting. Actually, this was a painting I had already made, or had already set up in the pack, and was just waiting to put it in a good spot. So I actually quite like this painting. It's quite cool. So, anyhow, and I'll release that texture pack and everything once it's done. I mean, I've got a bunch of stuff to add to it because our teleposer area, which actually, okay, I've been doing a lot of stuff. A lot in this floor actually, and then some in the pneumatics room, and some downstairs as well, and then some upstairs also. So if we head out here, it actually you can go downstairs or upstairs from here. Up here, I've mainly worked on framing out this area and adding a floor that actually runs around through this. Is the main thing that I've done up here. So this is about to get cleaned up, this whole little section here. But most of my time, like I said, has been spent on this floor. So if we head through here and then head on down, which it's still a little bit barren looking and it's all white right now. I've got to go through and add all the color, and I've got to make up a bunch of banners for starters because I want to add a bunch of banners on here, which will really give it that vibrant pop that I want in terms of color. But I ended up running planters all the way down through here. There's some containment chalices. By the way, these containment chalices are filled up with ichor. Not all the way filled up, just enough so that they get that big cube in there, and they get the two bursts spinning around them. And if we head over here, these are actually, they're cyan colored glass, but they're kind of replicas of our windows downstairs. I actually quite like the design, so I replicated it up here with cyan glass. And then I also added this little area, this balcony. I kind of cleaned this up a little bit and added some liquid starlight that runs down through there. Still got to add something right in there. I'm not for sure what just yet. And then if we head back inside, I added a little grass thing here. I've got to add plants to it. Right down here, I did craft out all of our teleposers, and then I set up the destructive stone pillar caps and the redstone below it. Now, all the ones that do not have buttons, so all of these four, don't actually go anywhere right now. They have no other teleposer set up. They have no connection set up. You can see they're empty at the moment. I just went ahead and crafted those out, and on the other side, I went ahead and crafted these out as well. Just so that we have that down, so then all I have to craft is the teleposers, the two teleposers that go inside of the teleposers, and then I have to craft out the teleposers on the opposite side. So it'll make it a little bit quicker setting those up. And then over here, I added this little area. I also lit up some of the stuff. A lot of it's temporary lighting, but not exactly sure what kind of lighting I want to go. I mean, I've used some lighting downstairs, and we will use some of that up here, but that lighting, it works, but it's not. In some places, it's going to be hard to implement. So, and then over here, I added some more planters that have to be filled. Most of the planters are empty at the moment. I'm just kind of plotting things out at present. And then over here, I've started growing this grass. I'm waiting for this grass to finish growing. Also crafted up a bunch of iron sand. It was actually 2 stacks. I think I have the other, yeah, 63. It was a stack and one that goes here, and then I've got to put some iron sand down elsewhere. Now I'm going to see if water fixes this, because it slowly turns back into soul sand, which is kind of a problem if I want to do like a Zen garden, because it'll just eventually turn into soul sand. So I'm kind of testing that at the moment. Maybe see if water will fix that or not. a lot of like structuring since last episode. Over here, this little pathway actually goes up right here, and it's right underneath that pathway that goes, like there's the little trophy area right there. And then right here is where these steps connect up to. And then on the other side, it's going to come up over here, and we're going to have a nice window overlooking that area, and then it's going to have a little platform up here. And supports coming up from down there, holding it up and everything. I'm not for sure what I'm going to put up here at the moment. But just trying to make it, I don't know, I like the whole like winding hallways. Like, you know, this connects up through here underneath that pathway, but then it comes back around and you can get on this pathway, and just, you know, those pathways going all over. So, and then I was actually about to start the ceiling, but I decided we'd go ahead and get started with this episode. Down here I've added grass and a little platform here, and we're going to start decorating this area out. And kind of, I want to try to, this week, my goal is, among working on that floor up there, I would like to finish this floor, get the ceiling on, and get this floor just done, 100% done. Add the rest of the decor, add the rest of the actual lighting, and then, you know, finish up this little section. I think that's the only part that's like open right now. And then finish out this room. We did put a little bit of work into this room here. Adding floors, that is actually, it shows a little water texture there, but you can see with it spinning around, that is our etching acid. So, I might even make more, but the thing is, with it being a blue dot in the containment chalice, I don't know. If it was like this grimy, goopy green, I would probably be more concerned with making more, but this is more just like storage, so we have our etching acid in this room, even though I don't really have any particular use for it. And then that's our UV light box, which we also have no real use for. Plastic is backed up. Kerosene is backed up. Oh, I need to show you that as well. We have all of the plastics, 8 stacks of all the plastics. So that's filled out now. And then this little pathway. These are stone brick paths from Blood Magic. And I thought they looked pretty good in here, especially once everything's said and done. And then over here, I went ahead and crafted up advanced pressure tubes. I ran some of them. I don't have any of this stuff plugged up. We're going to be plugging this up today. I also crafted 3 more charging stations. R1 is still set up over here because I didn't want to dismantle all of this. So, yeah, I made a bunch of empty PCBs. They're actually really, really easy when you have infinite plastic and pretty much infinite compressed iron. It's pretty easy to do. They're not printed circuit boards. Over here, I do have some printed circuit boards made out, and then I have some unassembled PCBs, some more advanced pressure tubes, and I did go ahead and get the drill and laser just because it makes crafting out a bunch of these. With our manual system that we have right now, it makes it a little bit easier. So, and then our charging station's still over here, and I'm actually going to do that. Liquid compressors are still set up. This system is still set up the way it was, but over here we have some advanced liquid compressors, and I need to craft out 2 more of those. I'm going to wait until we dismantle that system over there, since it does take the liquid compressors. I figured I'd wait, and we'll craft a couple of those, get those set up on camera. And I'm going to have 1 extra, but that's fine because I'm going to need compressors elsewhere too, because we're going to need one, or not one, but a setup of them underneath the storage building here soon as well, in a coming episode. But right now, like I said, none of the pressure tubes are actually plugged up. There's no pressure in this system. This was just kind of, basically for me, kind of to plot out things and figure out where I wanted everything to set, so, for this episode. And then upstairs, there's nothing too elaborate. There is going to be a little platform over here that kind of goes over top of these pressure chambers. I had a creeper explode. That's why I started lighting things up, because I was like, okay, I don't want that to happen anymore. And if we step out, let's actually pop back upstairs here. I'm so tired of having to eat. We're about to fix that. But of course, since this is on a server, things run when I'm not online, and my kerosene light kept running, and I logged on to 0 kerosene in the system, which was kind of a problem. So what I did, and this was something I kind of hinted at last episode, that we were going to start crafting, but we didn't have time to get into it, and then I really needed it. These are overflow trash from Inductive Logistics, and basically what happens is anytime that liquid pumps into these, they will try to push the liquid into their attached container. So in this case, it's going to be this tank. See, the arrow's pointing up. So it's going to push the liquid into that tank, but if that tank is filled, like for example, this kerosene that's over here, all of these have overflow trash. It's basically running 24/7 now, which I do not mind. because we have oil, infinite oil basically, and realistically the power consumption is minor. So, but anyways, if it cannot push into the tank, then it voids it. So that way we don't have just liquids. You know, I was having the issue of, okay, I need naphtha, but diesel is backed up. And then I need diesel, but the naphtha's backed up. Or I need kerosene, but the gasoline's backed up. And so then I just put those down, and so that way it fixes all of that. Technically, I could put like a redstone control and shut it off. I'm not too worried about it because it's basically free. It's not consuming anything. Because after that oil reserve runs out, it still continues to produce oil. So like right now, it's actually running off of an empty oil reserve. But it still continues to pump oil indefinitely, and it's enough to actually keep that system running, keep me stocked on kerosene, keep me stocked on plastic, keep me stocked on gasoline, and so on. So, but I believe that's the main things. I mean, I've done some other little minor things, crafted up some things, but nothing terribly important, I don't think. So, mainly framing, and like I said, I'd like to get that floor down there completely finished, work on this floor, maybe get it, you know, somewhat close to finished. After this episode, I need to craft up, like, I don't know, a stack of banners or something. I've got like 200 stacks of every color of wool at the moment, so that's not going to be too much of an issue. But honestly, just getting some of this stuff framed in and the windows in has really helped a lot. It makes it look a little bit better up here. Because it was like floating platforms really, really bad up here prior, you know, to me fixing that. So anyhow, the first thing that I want to do this episode is continue on with Pneumatic Craft. I want to get everything changed over to advanced pressure so that, namely, we can get our aerial interface set up that we crafted last episode. That is very, very important. So what we're going to do, and I've actually got output routing node there, output routing node setting right there. Let's go ahead, and I'm actually going to, these output routing nodes, I'm just going to pull these up, and we're going to steal the fluid filters that are in here, because we don't really need those connected anymore. And we're going to say that the downside is gasoline on both of these. Now, as we know, pumping it directly into a fluid pipe makes it pretty slow, but it doesn't really matter in all truth, because these things are so efficient on fuel that we're not going to have any issues with the amount of fuel coming in. So, and these need to hook up to our gasoline setup, which is this one right here. So input routing node, we'll just connect that to there, and then we'll connect up the other one. I decided we're going to connect them into the actual input routing nodes instead of connect output to output, just in case it causes any kind of issues. But oh, and this is actually leaking. Yeah. Okay, let me fix that. I forgot that I don't actually have this closed off at the moment. And actually this system, I'm going to set this to the redstone behavior. We're going to set it to enable on high signal. And then this one we're going to set to enable on high signal. So that these don't run at the moment. It's actually kind of imperative that we turn all these off, in fact. I just wanted to get the liquid set up for right now. Let's do that. Because there's still some things that we need to craft and whatnot. Now you'll notice on these, they can go up to a 20 pressure. That's your liquid, you know, this right here is all identical to the other liquid compression or liquid compressors. If you take a look at these, it's all the same. The only difference is there's a new bar here. This is your temperature bar. And ideally you want to keep this down because as your temperature rises, your efficiency decreases. So if we let the heat rise too much, then gasoline turns from being a really efficient fuel to being a not so efficient fuel. So the way that we're going to do that, we're actually going to craft up 8 of these, because eventually this system is going to have 8 advanced compressors. That way, I wanted a bunch of advanced compressors, so if the pressure does drop, if we craft or something, it'll quickly go right back up. So we're going to have all these connected up with redstone as well, but we need to make 8 of these heat sinks. So compressed iron, gold, iron bars. So 8 of those. Let me get this stuff together for that. I tend to have iron rods on hand because I use so many of the fences that I've usually got them. Usually got them around. So there's, okay, yeah, it's 3 per. So there we go. There is 8 heat sinks. And basically what the heat sink does is it disperses the heat from a machine just into the air. And you can actually make it a little bit faster. Like if you hold shift here, it says when an air grate tube module is pointed at it, its effectiveness is greatly increased. We don't really have to worry about that unless it's been radically changed. Generally, just putting a heatsink on top of this will actually get rid of enough heat. You'll notice they kind of turn red, and what happens is they drop that temperature down. Pretty easy and straightforward, I'd say. And then also, whenever these start to get really hot, if I recall, if you stand on them, you'll actually take a little bit of damage. So just a heads up. But the heatsink is usually going to, like it says, bottom temperature is 33 degrees Celsius. You take a look at this, 33 degrees Celsius. So it's basically pulling the heat from that advanced liquid compressor, and it's blasting it into the air. Now, some machines, there's not really a whole lot of need for heat in this pack, because they've actually gotten rid of so much of the pneumatic stuff that requires heat, because like the whole plastic system, like the distillation system, is gone. So as far as uses for heat, there's not as many uses. Sometimes it's ideal to have these, the heat is kind of like a resource, so you can actually use that in other machines, but in this pack, I don't guess we're going to be using it too terribly much, I don't think. Because you can actually use the heat from that to like heat up the plastic mixer so that you can melt down plastic sheets and stuff like that. And then also like distillation and stuff normally requires heat, but in this pack it doesn't. So we don't have to worry too much about that. So we're just going to use heat sinks and just get rid of that heat. And we'll go ahead and put these down over here as well. And now that that's in place, our compressors, technically we could turn them on and they'd start running and the heat would get dispersed, and we wouldn't have to worry too much about efficiency because it has fuel, it has a heat sink. But we also need to worry about the redstone. So what we're going to do, and I'm actually going to set up just a block in between each of these, and let me figure out exactly what block I want to use. I'm honestly thinking about using a pressure chamber wall. So if we put a pressure chamber wall there and a pressure chamber wall there, I think it looks better than just using a random block. And we'll try to keep it somewhat pneumatic craft, so that'll be fine. We'll put that there, and we'll put that right there. And then the remaining blocks I actually need over here. Like, I was waiting because I can't really build out this area until all this junk is gone. I don't want to pull apart my total, like, all of my pneumatic system until we get a new one plugged up, so. Okay, so now what we're going to do, and there's probably a little bit of pressure in here. Yeah, it looks like maybe a 2 bar. Well, actually, we can look right here. 1.5 bar of pressure from the short time that these were running. So it really doesn't take very long for these to build up pressure, in truth. And these over here are 1.4 bars pressure. And you can always put speed upgrades into those as well, if you so desire. And we will. Probably. We probably will. Honestly, 8 of these might be overkill, but that'll be fine. So, it just means we can put more speed upgrades and stuff. Okay, so now that that stuff's in place, we need to plug up redstone to this. And I've got redstone wire connectors. We're going to use those. And we'll go ahead and just put these down like there, and then we'll put one there and there. And let's go ahead and grab this. We're going to set it to outputs. Output, output, and output. Because we want to output the redstone signal down into this pressure chamber wall. And this should work. Should. And then what we're going to do is, right over here, we are going to make ourselves another one of these pressure gauge tube modules. I want to make another one of those, and I also want to make what's called an advanced PCB. I mentioned this at the end of last episode. I actually want to make 2 of these. They're just printed circuit boards, some yellow plastic, and some redstone. So let me go ahead. Actually, I wasn't maxed out on red plastic for a little bit, or yellow plastic, I mean, because I had in the filter I'd accidentally left pink plastic, but I got that changed over not too long ago. So you can see we've actually got 8 stacks of all plastics at the moment. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our pressure gauge module, and if you take a look over here, before we put that down, if you take a look at this one, it's kind of hard to see right here, but if you look, and if you recall, it only goes up to like a 5, then 6 and 7 are in the red, right, on that one. But if you put this thing onto a advanced pressure tube, it actually displays, you know, up to 25, anything past 20, of course, being in the red, but it will display all of that. And I want to say that we can rotate this, can't we? I think we can. Can I rotate this? No? Okay. Maybe it just sits right there. But anyways, if we take and we put an advanced PCB into this, just like that. And then if we right-click to open this up, you can see we have a new GUI that's not available within this one. So like over here, if we were to right-click this, nothing happens. But if we come over here and we open this one up, there's actually an advanced config here as well. But you can say to emit a redstone when it's lower than, higher than a certain bar of pressure. And then you can go into the advanced config and you can say that like this is the amount of redstone that's emitted, this is the bar of pressure. So right here you can set like when does the redstone activate. So right now it goes from a 0 to a 15, ranging from -1 to 9. So if we set this up, we can set it to say like a 9 bar to a 20 bar. And then what's going to happen is the redstone that's emitted is going to change based on, it's going to start emitting once it hits a 9 bar of pressure, and it's going to reach a 15 once it hits a 20 bar. But for most purposes, this right here is fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to say that you're going to emit when the pressure is higher than 19.5. Yeah, that'd be fine. So emit redstone when your pressure is higher than 19.5 bars of pressure. Okay, and that'll be right here. This is kind of a, kind of an intersection. So whenever that intersection reaches higher than a 19.5 bars of pressure, then this is going to stop. It's going to activate redstone. And then we're going to use our redstone wire connector, put that down right there, and then we're going to, let's attach, we'll put one setting right here, and we'll just bring the redstone up to there, and then bring it down and connect it into our redstone connectors right there. Now for just a second, let's go ahead and say that you're going to emit when it's lower than 19.5 bars. We could also do that as well. And you take a look here, it says no problems. It's actually running right now. You can see the pressure is steadily going up in this. 3.1 bar, 3.2, and so on. And then in turn, if we take a look at our charging stations, those are building up as well. We have a 2.3 bar here, 2.3, 2.3 in those as well. Let's see, this is at a 4.5. Let's actually set this a little bit lower. Let's say stop when you're at a 19.3 bar. Because really, I mean, between 19 and 20 is, I'm not terribly concerned about trying to min-max it and get 19.9 bars of pressure. It's too dangerous. So honestly, even if we just go to like a 19 bar, that's fine. Everything's gonna craft quick, and I mean, there's not really a whole lot that's gonna make much of a difference on, in truth. So I think that'll be okay if we just leave it at like a 19.3. I may even set it down to 19, who knows. We'll see. But anyway, so that's running. We're producing pressure, and you can see that the heatsink is at a 39 degrees Celsius. It's keeping that temperature on this advanced liquid compressor down to about 39, 40 degrees Celsius. And we shouldn't have to worry too much about the, the temperature. Now, if you just let it kind of take off, once it hits, I believe it's this arrow right here, like right here is when it starts to lose efficiency, I think. And when it hits here, it's pretty much like the efficiency is like non-existent. You can actually read here. Yeah, right in the information. If you want to read more about the efficiency, the top arrow indicates right there 0% efficiency. Once you get the temperature up to that, it's no longer efficient at all to run it. Like, it's just not any good. You definitely want to try to avoid that. So just a quick heat sink on the top and you're set. It's not too difficult to deal with heat, in truth. Just another little thing to stick on top there. So, all right. So now that that's in place, now that that's up and going, one thing you want to be aware of is within the advanced liquid compressor, of course, the pressure goes up to 20 bar before it becomes dangerous. If you look at the charging station, it goes up to 20 bar before it becomes dangerous. You take a look at the aerial interface, it goes up to 20 before it becomes dangerous. But let's say, for example, I think oh yeah, plastic mixer doesn't need it. But if you take a look at the pressure chamber, 5 bars of pressure is when it becomes dangerous. So just bear that in mind. You don't want too much pressure coming into this. That's why I'm not plugging this up just yet. to the pressure chamber, because if I let the pressure go up that high, it's going to cause an explosion, which is no good. We don't want that. Okay, yeah, I'm actually going to set these to enable on low signal. And the reason being is, for whatever reason, this thing keeps defaulting back over to higher than, and it's having issues staying on lower than. It's done it like 3 times now, where it keeps just flipping just randomly. I'll see that the things keep stopping. I was watching them run for a second, and it keeps flipping back over to lower than, or to higher than, and it's causing these to stop running. So it's kind of causing an issue. It's causing pressure to stop running, or stop being created. So there we go. We'll just change that over and that'll be fine. So once it hits a 19.3 bar, or once it gets higher than that, it'll start emitting redstone signal. It'll shut these liquid compressors off. So easy enough. Okay, and then what we're going to do is, let's make a new module here. I want to make the regulator tube module. You can see that it requires a couple safety tubes and then just a pressure tube. Easy enough. I may have to craft a couple more. I can't remember how many default pressure tubes. I have 2. Okay. So I'm going to need to craft one of those. There we go. Regulator tube module. Here's where the advanced pressure tubes, everything past this point, we can leave as standard pressure tubes. We don't actually have to use the advanced pressure tubes. So what I'm going to do is, right here, I'm going to, yeah, see, whenever this gets hot, if you stand on it, you take damage. So just a heads up. You can see the temperature is steadily increasing, but by the time it gets to any kind of decent temperature, this is going to stop running. So unless you're just running something constant, you shouldn't have too much issue with it. So, and then if worse comes to worse, you can always use a vortex tube to cool it down faster. But let's go ahead and just bring these back, and we'll do it to like right here, actually. And let's go ahead and just snip that off. And we'll pull that off, and there we go. We've kind of routed the air back around on itself at the moment. And then what I want to do is I want to set up a regulator tube module, and we'll just have this setting like, we'll do advanced pressure tube setting right there. We'll put the regulator tube module, whoops, set that there. And we're going to have the regulator, you want the small side to face like the lower pressure side. So we're going to put it just like this. And then if I recall, if we take and put the advanced PCB on there, we can now open this up and we can say the threshold on this. And you can do an advanced config just like on the other one. But standard config is generally going to be all that you need. So what we're going to do is we're going to say the threshold is going to be 4.7. Yeah, that'll be good. So nothing, once like this side hits 4.7 bars, it will never allow any more pressure to transfer through this. So then all we have to do is just plug this up, and there we go. That's connected up. And then we'll connect up this side. Dun, dun, dun. So it's like 9 bars over here, 12 bars, something like that. Over here, it's never going to go above a 4.7. Okay. So no, basically, if I was generating air over here and I just kept generating it, it could still explode. But air coming from this side could never go above a 4.7 going into this side. And then let's go ahead and just trim that off. We don't want those anymore. And then what we're going to do is, let's see, where all does this connect up at? Honestly, most of this stuff can get disconnected now. I'm going to go ahead and I just broke the pressure chamber. So we just lost a lot of pressure on this side. I'm not too concerned with it. But just a heads up, we did lose most of the pressure that was over here. That was built up. Okay. And that's... Let's see. Got everything pulled up over here. Now there's one other machine that comes to mind, like immediately, that only has a 5-bar pressure. That's the assembly controller. This is the pressure gauge. So we're actually going to have the assembly system set up right up above this. And so we'll just bring the air pressure up and connect it up here, and then we'll have a little platform set up here, which I think it'll look good. But okay, let me dump out. I don't need this right now. I may end up using it, and I don't need that at the moment. And I am going to need one more advanced PCB, actually. And this pressure gauge tube module, we're going to go ahead and just set this one up. We're going to have it setting right here. And then we'll have a redstone wire connector there, and then directly above that, setting right there. And this side's going to be set up pretty much the same. I want them set up at kind of the crossroads of all the pipes, instead of just wherever, because that way you've got, you know, two compressors pumping pressure over here, two compressors pumping pressure over here. So generally, if any spot is going to get high on pressure, it's going to be this, you know, this spot right here. Also possibly like this spot or this spot could, but generally these right here. See, this is 14.4, that's 14.1. Then the compressors themselves, they're 14.8. So they're a little bit above this because it's just the speed that they can pump the pressure out. Now we can also do speed upgrades in these to make it a little bit faster if we want to, but you have to be kind of careful with your pressure bars because this is going to start building up a little bit faster as well. So for right now, I'm going to leave no speed upgrades in there, and then we'll add those here in just a little bit. Let me go ahead and move this over, and we're going to move this whole system here in just a minute. For right now, let's see, I've got all the redstone plugged up. I don't have to plug up any more redstone, so I'm going to put this stuff away for the time being. And we'll pretty much set this one up identical. So we'll pop the advanced PCB into there. This is set to 19.3. So we'll set this one over here then to a 19.3 as well. And then now I just need to craft up the advanced liquid compressors that we need. So that's just advanced pressure tubes, some blue plastic, and some buckets. A couple buckets. Which I've actually got blue plastic over here. This is kind of plastic that I was using at the time. So there we go. There's two of those. And then we'll just set these down, you know, one setting right here and one setting right here. And then we'll just plug this up. Pow. And we're going to say that you work on low signal. And let's see, all of these seem to be producing air pressure now. Well, this one's saying that it's not running at full efficiency, but that's okay. And let's go ahead and add our last two heat sinks down there. There. Generally with a heat sink, in my experience, the most your efficiency is going to go down. Like this one says problems. You can see it'll, every once in a while it'll turn red and it'll say problems. That's because the efficiency, it's no longer running at 100% efficiency. It's running at 99% efficiency. So occasionally with a heat sink, it'll bounce to the red and then bounce back. It's not a big issue. These over here might say we're running at 95% efficiency. But it's not really a big deal because if you notice right here, it's about to stop running before too long. Because it's presently at a 13.9 bar pressure. And so once it hits that 19 bar, it's going to shut off and those heat sinks are going to start cooling off. So just right now, it's sending pressure over to the pressure chamber. And you can see this is at a 4.6 bar. And of course, we set it to 4.7. But if you take a look at this pressure chamber, it is a 3.2 bar. So it's steadily sending that pressure over to here. Which really, I think, technically, if we change these over, it might actually work a bit faster. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just pull those up. And we'll just change over to the advanced tubes. Just because we can. It's still not going to allow anything above a 4.7 to go through here. And I think it actually does move the air pressure a little bit faster with those advanced tubes. So, might as well. Okay, and this is all starting to fill up. If we take a look over here at the aerial interface, I mean, it's at, what, 15.4 bars. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to finish out this pressure chamber and get this one plugged up. Because I need to put, you know, the rest of the pieces on there, get the multi-block formed. Because I do want two pressure chambers, and I'll explain why that is, especially once we get into automation. But I will explain why that is here in just a second. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull up our assembly system. And I'm going to move it up here to this platform and bring the air pressure up. And I may go ahead and craft the second assembly platform that we're going to be using. But we'll see. So I'll be back here in just a bit. Okay, it's been a little bit, and I've got these set up. We have an assembly controller here. This does our laser programs on this one. And so input, output. Then over here we have another assembly system set up. This one does the drilling. So input, output. And then down here we have our second pressure chamber. set up right there. And also the pressure is ran under the floor and connected into the assembly controller from the bottom. Is how I've got it set up at the moment. And if we take a look here, I've got these. The reason I want 2 pressure chambers is because this one, well, the filter just cleared itself. Oh wait, sorry. Sorry. I don't. Right here we have compressed iron and block of compressed iron. And then on this side we have empty PCBs, capacitors, transistors. And there's still a couple other things I need to add to this, but like if you take a look, for example, at compressed iron, let's pull up the pressure chamber recipes. You can make compressed iron, you can make block of compressed iron. You can also make the turbine blade, which is going to go on the left hand pressure chamber. That's the one that handles the compressed iron because it doesn't require any compressed iron. But then if you look at empty PCB, transistor, and capacitor, all of these take compressed iron. So ideally you want those in a separate pressure chamber. That's for automation purposes. That way you never have to change the filters and you can just kind of leave them as is. And then etching acid, if we find a need for it, I can throw this in the left hand or the right hand. It doesn't really matter. So, but ideally you want these kind of split up. If I recall correctly, in Project Ozone there was like another recipe that took a couple things and I had to set it into a third pressure chamber. But for most packs and most purposes, 2 pressure chambers will handle all your crafting needs. And it's really nice for automation having 2 of those. So that's why I wanted to go ahead and set up 2 of those. And then over here I went ahead and set up a iron sheet metal tank that we're going to use here in just a minute for something. But over here you can see that our pneumatic wrench and our Amatron tablet are charged up to a 10 bar. Even though this has 20 bars, I mean they're not going to explode or anything like that. Or it has 19.3 bars of pressure in these 2. And we're out of speed upgrades. I used the last of them, and honestly I need more. And these take the lubricant, the sugar, and the lapis. Okay, so let me show you something. We're going to set up a liquid hopper setting, and this is just going to be a temporary thing. Set it right there so it starts filling up with lubricant. And we're going to give this just a second to fill up on lubricant. If I had some speed upgrades I could throw them in there, but this will be fine. This holds, what, 16 millibuckets? Okay, it's filled up with lubricant, so let's grab that. And this was brought up in the comments by Desh2008, that you can actually use liquid storage, like namely the liquid hopper. I know he said that he knows that works, and other mod tanks may work, but might as well use the liquid hopper. So what we can do is we can place this in the middle and place our sugar and our lapis, and there we go. We can craft our 16 speed upgrades using the liquid from the liquid hopper instead of using the buckets. So it just kind of makes it a little bit easier for us to do that, which is quite handy. I think 16 should do us for right now, and we'll be speeding everything up here in just a little bit. But let's go ahead and put 4 into this one. I'm putting 4 in there instead of 3 this time because we're about to make it a little bit better. And then our other speed upgrades, let's go ahead and put some in these charging stations. So maybe like 3 in each of these would be good. There we go. And then I've got some more here. I'm going to go ahead and throw like 1 in each of these. It's not that imperative in truth that we put speed upgrades into the liquid compressor. Since we have 8 of these things running on the same network, we actually build up on pressure at a decent rate. But I am going to end up putting some in those. Maybe like 2 or 3. I don't like to go too crazy with those in the compressors, because if the redstone doesn't update quick enough, like, you can end up blowing everything up. So it's a little bit dangerous sometimes. And we're going to get into volume upgrades here in just a minute, but the next thing that I want to do, I was thinking about doing them right now, but then I was like, well, I actually need to wait on that. We are going to get ourselves a dispenser upgrade. So this right here, dispenser, and some nether quartz and lapis. And what I want to do with this dispenser upgrade is I actually want to put it onto our aerial interface, because this thing has enough pressure now to do things. So if we put the dispenser upgrade on there, then what we're going to do is we're going to set this to feed mode right here. And you can say feed only when the provided food can be fully utilized. Feed as soon as the player is not fully fed, or feed when the player has full health. Only feed when the food can be fully utilized. When the player does not have full health, feed when the player is not fully fed. We're going to select that. It's going to feed us anytime that we can either utilize all the food, or if we've taken damage, it'll feed us to get our health back up. So then what we're going to do is we're going to set up a hopper on top of that. I need to craft one more hopper, actually. So we'll put a hopper setting right there. And then we're going to put a, let's see, let's get a precise item filter, and let's get an output routing node. And we're going to put this just right on top of our hopper, right there. And then we'll say the downside has a precise item filter, and then we'll go ahead and select that node. And then what I want to do is I want to set up some kind of food that we're going to be using. Now, of course, I've reached a point in this pack where I'm really not worried about nutrition, and I don't see myself being worried about nutrition for the remainder of the pack, because we've already killed, like, probably the hardest bosses in the pack. The rest of the bosses are pretty easy and pretty straightforward, so I mainly just want food is what I want. I'll tell you what, we're going to go ahead and do baked potatoes is what we're going to do. So let's grab a potato. Let's go get a stone grill and a flame grilled whopper. We're just going to do it through the stone grill. That'll be fine. And we might as well use our cooking area, actually. Yeah, baked potatoes are a pretty good food source, so we'll go with that. Let's put on this output routing node, let's put baked potato right there. And then we can go ahead and connect this up to our node system. So it'll be the input routing node right here. We'll just connect that up. And then let's go ahead and connect up the input routing node. And we're going to need to send potatoes out. And let's go ahead and lock this in like right... we'll lock it in right here. So we'll put baked potatoes into there. And you can see the baked potato already got pulled out. It got sent to the hopper. But it's not going to feed us until we can utilize the food. Okay, so what we're going to do is right here, let's actually pull this up. And let's pull that up. Let's put an input routing node. Let's put an input routing node setting right here. And we're just going to take this connection. No, wait. Let's place that back down. Let's put the input routing node, and we're going to connect it to right here. Of course, this is the one that doesn't connect up to the chests. So we're going to connect it up right there so that it basically just feeds in the drawers, and whenever the drawer gets filled, it's going to stop. And then we'll pop back over here. Oh wait, I need to grab the output node, or the input node over here to connect to the output. It's going to have a precise filter in it as well, because we want it to specifically pump out. Let's grab that again, and we're going to grab a potato, because we want to be making baked potatoes at the moment. Oh, and I also did this between episodes. I'm getting ready to landscape that out. Since we're not really using that tree farm anymore, we're going to be landscaping it quite a bit. Okay, so let's put our flame grilled whopper. We can just have this facing down. It doesn't really matter. The input node's going to pull directly from the whopper. And then above that... Oh wait, that's going to be one too low, isn't it? Right there. And then we're going to put the grill setting right there. And then we can put our output node setting right there. And we're going to say that the downside... precise filter, only potatoes. And then we can just connect that up, and there we go, 16 potatoes in there. And this potato, I'm just going to throw it into there. Okay. And then we'll grab our input node and connect it back up to the output. So now food is automated, basically. It's not the best food. I mean, baked potatoes are still pretty good, though. It's a very good, like, vanilla-esque food. See, it's getting baked potatoes, but it's not feeding me. Oh, you know what the issue is? I just noticed. It can't face down to the arrow. It has to face into the sides. So let's actually grab that output node. Grab those out. Let's grab this. Then if we put the hopper on just the side of this, I don't know why I didn't think about that. We'll put the output node setting there. We'll say that the downside... not fluid filter, precise item filter, baked potatoes. And if we put the baked potatoes into there we go. It just fed us. And technically I can pull off our gluttony charm now because we don't actually need it anymore. It has no real use at this point. And I forgot to grab that as a connection. Alright, so this input node, we'll just connect that up. And now, really, I don't ever have to carry food anymore. And I also don't need the gluttony charm anymore, either. We no longer have to carry food around with us. We're going to stay fed, and if we start taking damage, it's going to feed us to try to get that saturation up. And technically, I could automate some better food, but honestly, this is going to be fine for right now, in truth. And let me get... I'm going to want another fluid filter right now. Let's grab this. Let's make a fluid filter. There we go. And then the next thing that I want to set up... Oh, and I'm going to need another master node. Let me make one of those real quick. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do, the dispenser upgrade can also pull out XP. So if we just put a liquid hopper setting right there, and we open this up and, open this up, interfacing XP, let's set it to cyclic XP. And you can see my XP is steadily getting drained out. It's turning into cyclic XP. And I can throw some speed upgrades in here if I so desire. Actually, let me grab... I'll just go craft some more here in just a second. That'll be fine. And what I want to do is I want to set up a input node. And we'll have this setting like right here. That's the north side. Let's throw in... let me actually get a bucket here. Let's grab a bucket of this cyclic XP. And we're going to say the north side, fluid filter, and we're going to say experience bucket. And then over here on this tank that I set up, we're going to set an output node at the top and say fluid filter on the downside, XP, and then we'll grab that connection, connect it up to there, and then we'll set up a master node setting like right there and connect that up. So it's going to pull out the XP from our liquid hopper and dump it into our tank. And then from there I can take and, you know, pump this out into a small tank up in the enchanting room, which I will probably do. I'll just do that off camera because it's basically just setting up fluid filters and connecting it. But set up a little tank up there at the fluid building so that, you know, we'll have XP on hand for enchanting. Now, a couple other things that I want to do with this, though, and we're actually about to eat here in just a second. Let me grab a lever. There we go. See, I just ate. Right now, I'm going to have this as manual control. Later on, I'll probably end up, I don't know, maybe setting up an automated, or not necessarily automated control, like a manual override up in the experience room. But for right now, I'm just going to set it up down here, over in the Pneumatic building. I think that'll be fine. Honestly, I barely ever use XP anyways. So I'm going to make a lever, and I'm also going to make a, what's it called? Drain? No, it's, faucets, right? Mob grinding utilities, XP tap. That's what it is. I want to make one of these as well. And then we'll have one set up in the, we'll have one set up in the enchanting room as well. Like another XP tap. But I want one of those. And what we'll do is we'll set a lever here on the side of this. Or right there will be fine. And we'll go ahead and hit that, which will stop. We're going to set the redstone behavior to enable on low signal. Okay, so right now, problems, there's redstone, so it can't work. It can't pull the XP out. And then we'll put an XP tap on our tank. Oh, will it not? That's too bad. Okay, let me make a singularity tank will be fine. So one of these. And we'll just put a singularity tank setting like right there will be alright. Or I could have it, well, that'll be right in front of the pillar. Yeah, I think I want it like right there. And we'll put the XP tap directly onto that then. I'm assuming that this probably wouldn't work, would it? No. I was hoping. And then if we apply a redstone signal to the back of this, make another lever here. Apply a redstone signal right back there. It's going to automatically output to the singularity tank. And then if I want XP, I can just hit the XP tap. There we go. And technically I could use this for mending. I mean, you can see my swift pick is mending up. And my XP is not being drained out. That's because we have a redstone signal applied to this hopper. I can flip that off and it'll start draining again. And the nice thing is, the best part is, I can actually just turn this on and just stand here and absorb the XP. And it's basically just going to mend my pick for me for free, like bit by bit. So if we take a look here, we can see that the durability is steadily going up on this. And I can make it a little bit faster if I pull my armor off, so that all the XP goes to this pick. Because basically it's checking the armor. If it's equipped, it's checking the armor. It's not actually using the XP, but it is checking that armor. So it's finally a really easy way for me to repair my pick without even leaving the base. And then in addition, let me go ahead and make some speed upgrades real quick. Honestly, being able to craft like this is so useful. I didn't even realize that that was a thing. I'm thinking it was added more recently or something. I know Dash is the dev for the repressurized pneumatic craft, like the updated pneumatic craft. So he knows all the tricks, I think. But that's super handy, and I'm glad he brought that up in the comments. So thank you so much for that, because it has proven very, very helpful. But let's go ahead and throw some, like, let's do, I don't know, 4 speed upgrades, because I don't think the input routing node is going to be able to keep up with anything past that point. And let's grab our Tome of Peridia. So there's 143 levels in here. And let's start just pulling levels out of here. I'll tell you what, let me actually turn this off, because it'll be a bit quicker, because it pulls out a level at a time. So it's like not even going to scratch the surface for a minute until I get up to like 100 levels. So okay, so I drained all the XP out of the book, and we'll just put that away. And then I can turn the thing back on and look at it. It's just draining all that XP out, which it's going to fill up this, and then it's going to be waiting on the node transfer speed, but that's fine. I can just kind of let this passively go for a while, you know, while I'm building or whatever. I mean, I set on, like, what was it, 200 and something, 300 and something levels not too long ago. So, and then once this is ran through, it'll just grab the XP as soon as I mine. And no matter how far away I am, no matter what dimension I'm in, it's still going to pull out the XP. It's going to keep me fed. So now we don't ever have to carry food around with us. We don't have to worry about XP. We don't have to carry the Tome of Peridia on us. I think it really, really helps a lot. You can also use it for putting items into or taking items out of your inventory. So you can kind of set up some logic for it so that, you know, if you're using torches, it keeps torches stocked, or it keeps, you know, whatever stocked. And I may actually end up using that. Now, you can't use it with the dispenser upgrade. If you have the dispenser upgrade, it only allows food to be pumped in. But maybe whenever I'm building, in some cases, I might, you know, maybe even set up another aerial interface and say, keep me stocked on, you know, these items. And if we use nodes with it, then we can kind of, you know, use precise control as to how much of those items are pumped in. So, I mean, technically, I think we could probably use the output routing node and not even have the hopper, but I like having the hopper so that we kind of have like a stockpile built up here on site. You know, it's just one of my little quirks. So, honestly, I don't even know that all the XP is going to fit into this tank. In truth. We're going to get into better tanks before too long, but right now, not yet. Then I'm going to go ahead and dump 1 speed upgrade into all of these remaining advanced liquid compressors that don't currently have one, just because we can. And are we out of gasoline at the moment, or is it just not pumping gasoline out? We've got gasoline. Huh. Oh, you know what? It's probably that weird little bug, though. Because there's a couple compressors on the right side that aren't filled up on gasoline, like these right here. They've got gasoline they can run, and it seems to be keeping them right at that point. But it's only those. Like these over here stay filled. It's that weird issue with nodes where some things don't get filled up. So I guess it's not filling up the fluid pipe after a certain extent or something. I don't know. It's weird. Oh yeah, this thing's filling up at a decent rate. It's going to be filled up with XP, and then I'm just going to be setting on a bunch more XP after that point. But it is what it is, I guess. So okay, so now that we've got the the aerial interface set up and XP is being drained, food's being fed in, we got all of this stuff set up. The next thing that I want to do is I want to craft volume upgrades. I want to make a few of these. These are air canisters, lapis, compressed iron, pressure tubes, redstone, and more compressed iron. Grab that, and I'm getting low on compressed iron. Let me go grab, like, I don't know, I'm going to go ahead and grab like 3 stacks of iron, which I need to run meteors between this episode and next, because I'm down to 16 stacks of iron. Okay, we've got 7 volume upgrades. So what I want to do, and I'm going to end up spreading these across like all the machines, but let's say, for example, the assembly controller. This is a place where if we put too many speed upgrades in there, it starts draining the pressure in there, right? So what we can do is we can put volume upgrades in there, and you can see the pressure has dropped in here. If we take a look here, oops, you could see there's the current air, and it's going up right now. Let's throw a second volume upgrade in there. Now you can see the pressure has dropped again. Basically what the volume upgrade does is your pressure bar is basically how filled it is, okay, like percentage wise of like maximum capacity. So let's say that 5 is 100% capacity. What volume upgrade does is it increases the capacity. It's still limited to 5 bars of pressure, so 100% of the pressure, let's say, but you're increasing basically the size of the storage, the air storage, so it's able to hold more air. So whenever I craft with this assembly controller, it's going to take more to bring it down, like on bars, because it has so much more air storage. Because whenever you craft, for example, let's say you craft an unassembled PCB, the way that it works is it's not going to use so much of a bar of pressure, it's going to use so much air. So whenever you increase the tank size, it takes longer for that bar to work itself down. So even if I were to throw in, like, say, 6 speed upgrades in this case, let's throw one more volume in there. And I've got, down here, I've got like a stack of PCBs, right? Right over here. Or 61, because I did craft some circuit boards earlier. So when I throw in those volume upgrades so that it stores more air pressure, and then I throw in, on the left side here, I throw in the empty PCBs, and it starts running, you'll notice right here, it's a lot faster, right? Like, that is a lot faster with 6 speed upgrades than 3 that we were using last episode. Much faster. Just the arms alone are a lot faster. But you'll notice that the bar isn't even moving. Whereas whenever I didn't have any volume upgrades in there, just setting it up to 4 speed upgrades caused that bar to kind of work itself down. Okay, so volume upgrades are nice because you're going to be able to hold a lot more air and cause yourself to be able to use speed upgrades. Now, it's still dropping in air, yes, but I'm not going to be producing unassembled PCBs 24/7. Whenever, even once we get automation set up, the most I'm going to do is I'm going to order like a stack, at a time. So if you put enough volume upgrades in there, you can put 6, 7, 8 speed upgrades in there, and you'll have enough pressure to run out that, that crafting operation. This is a whole lot faster than it was last episode. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to put volume upgrades in all of our stuff, in the pressure chambers, in the charging stations, in the liquid compressors, in the aerial interface, in everything. I've got to craft up a bunch more of those, but it's definitely something that I would like to do. That way, whenever we craft big orders, and especially once we get all this stuff automated, whenever we craft the big orders, it's not going to, we're not going to run out of pressure, basically. Okay, so there's 7 more volume upgrades. So let's see, this one currently has 4 in there. Let's go ahead and have 4 in this one. We'll start with that, and then I'm going to end up adding more. I can't remember what the limit is in these, but regardless, I mean, I know they can store quite a bit. And the nice thing is throwing volume upgrades into, say, this charging station. Let's throw in 4 in this. Okay, now you'll notice that the system has suddenly, or will suddenly drop. It went from like a 19.3 bar down to, what is this, 12, 13 bars of pressure. It's probably going to go up to like a 14. Throwing volume upgrades into machines that are plugged up to a 20 bar of pressure means basically that you've created an air pressure bank, right? It can store up a lot of air pressure. So now whenever I craft stuff in the system, it's going to take, just having this at like, having a bunch of storage like that is basically like a capacitor bank for air pressure. So if I craft something down here, let's say this charging station, for example. This one doesn't have any volume upgrades, but since pressure balances across the system, this charging station, even though it doesn't have the volume upgrades, it's going to take longer to really work down that pressure, because this one is going to be balancing its air pressure, or its air, over into these other charging stations and these other machines. So what's going to happen is the air in the system is going to drop, yes, but the bars are going to stay up. It's going to be able to keep the bars up just by feeding over this mass amount of pressure, because this one has 403,000 milliliters of air. This one has 19,000. So you can see the difference is ginormous, just throwing 4 volume upgrades in there. So let's go ahead and throw 2 into this one. So volume upgrades are always really nice to have. I mean, it's gonna mean that your system's gonna take a lot more time to initially charge up, because of course these over here, especially this one, it's gonna take a while for this one to get up to its 19.3 bars of pressure. So it's gonna keep draining. Now you notice the air did drop on this. That's because we threw these 2 volume upgrades in there, and this one has jumped up to 204,000 because it tried to balance out that air across the system. So this, whenever it received those volume upgrades, sucked a whole lot of air out of the system, causing everything else to kind of drop and balance off. But once we get a lot of volume upgrades across the board, then we're going to have a whole lot of air pressure built up. And you'll notice right now this thing is running, but the pressure is not dropping in this. Like, the air is not dropping in this. It's setting steady with 6 speed upgrades. Let's throw a couple more in there. Let's see what happens. Okay, at 7 it does start to drain a little bit. But you'll notice it actually crafts pretty quick at the moment. Honestly, I think 6 will be alright for right now. And it can hold steady at 6. The reason it's holding steady is because we're producing air, and because we have these volume upgrades. So the nice thing about these only having 5 bars of pressure is that generally this side of everything is going to stay filled. Because this side, since it's setting at a 19 bar of pressure, it's going to easily be able to fill this back up to a 4.8. Is that what I'm keeping? Yeah, 4.8 bars of pressure. So the more volume upgrades I throw in here, well, it's going to say, well, this side only needs this much air, so it's going to send it over. It's going to keep it staying pretty steady as well. The way that basically all of the air just kind of balances across the system. So the more volume that you have, it's not going to increase those bars, but it is going to increase the amount of air that's actually in the system. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. I hope it makes sense. I tried to explain it as best I could, anyways, with some visual aids going on. So you can see it's actually steadily going up on air at the moment. Now right here you can also do RF, and it will charge up RF accepting items within your inventory. Look at that. Still have 116 levels. It's already filled up. Oh goodness. But the nice thing is I can just hit that, and let's pull off this armor real quick. And look at that. Our durability is going up, and it's filled. And then I can turn that off, and there we go. It can kind of just fill up that tank again. So basically I never have to worry about my Swift Pick ever again. I never have to go out to find XP, because I can just get XP from the tank, and my Swift Pick will be good as new all the time. So quite handy. Anyways, I know it's a bit past wrapping up point, so we are going to end out this episode here. Next episode, we're going to continue on with a little bit of pneumatic craft. I want to get a couple things. First up, I want to set up an elevator, and I will craft up a couple things needed for that between episodes, mainly speed upgrades, volume upgrades, stuff like that. And I may go ahead and craft up the elevator bases, because it's just gray plastic and pneumatic cylinders that we're going to need. Elevator frames are just compressed iron ingots. And then we're also going to need elevator collars. So these right here, it's all really, really cheap. Once you get plastic and compressed iron and you have it coming out the wazoo, you know, it's pretty easy. And then we're also going to need advanced liquid compressors, which are also pretty easy. And basically a whole nother compression setup. So I'll probably set that up between episodes. But next episode I do want to do an elevator, and we may go ahead. I would like to craft up a pneumatic helmet at some point. It would be good for mining purposes especially. So we might go over that next episode. We'll see. We are going to get into drones, and we are going to get into the pneumatic door in the future. Not just yet, but we will. Because I have a setup in mind, possibly a couple setups in mind for drones and pneumatic doors both. So we will get into those. But yeah, we'll definitely get the elevator up and going next episode. We might get the pneumatic helmet up and going. We also might get the minigun up and going, because it's actually not the sentry turret, but the actual minigun. That's still a thing, right? I love the minigun. I hope it's still a thing. Yeah, there we go. The minigun right there. Also, the camouflage applicator, we're probably going to get that next episode, because I want to go over how to do camouflage, because I actually need it in this room to start camouflaging blocks. So we may get the camouflage applicator, and kind of wrapping up pneumatic craft, like the basics. Like I said, we are still going to do the door. We're still going to do the drones. We're still going to do a couple of the odd and end features within the mod. But I'd like to get that stuff for sure next episode. Elevator, the pneumatic helmet, the camouflage, the minigun, and then we are probably going to head to the end, I do believe, will be our next order of business. So going to get the enhanced ender alloys and stuff like that. Or we might, let me see, let me check something. Yeah, we need purple blocks to get the engineering press. We need pearl blocks to get logic press. And then we need biotite to get the silicon press. Okay, so we will be going to the end next episode. Maybe. We'll see where the time gets us. If we don't have enough time to go to the end, if I don't think we've got enough time to go to the end, I don't know, we'll do something. We'll do something miscellaneous, like cooking for blockheads or something, you know. But my goal is elevators. We'll kind of just move through that pretty quick. It's pretty straightforward, but it's probably the best block. Elevators are probably the best thing in modded Minecraft. Like, if you recall back when we set up the Better with Mods elevator, I said that my favorite elevator, though, was the pneumatic craft elevator, and we're finally about to get that. And I want that actually in the storage building, because it's just, it sounds so good. It sounds like an actual elevator and everything, so. So does the Better with Mod ones, though, I will say that. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you guys have any questions, as always, be sure and let me know down in the comments. I'll do my best to get those answered for you. And I'm sure if I can't answer them, I know Desh can. Because he knows all kinds of neat tricks, like the liquid hopper. The liquid hopper crafting, which is, that's so good. It's so useful. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, as always, be sure to hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already, to stay updated with when new videos come out. And I hope to see you guys next time. So until then, as always, do take care, stay safe, and I'll see you guys then.